Welcome to Battle Streams of Middle-earth, and this is my review of the 7th City Grand Prix 2025. Come on in.
One ring to rule them all, one ring to fight them, one ring to break them all, and let the darkness bind them.
So yes, indeed, welcome to Battle Streams of Middle-earth, and welcome to Damian's hobby vlog number 49, if you can believe it. This is the review of the 7th City Grand Prix that I went to in February this year. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is indeed Battle Streams of Middle-earth, the channel that we set up to help the hobbyists of the world clear their backlog. And we do this in a couple of ways. The first one of these is that every couple of weeks we have a live stream where we go through DxD's Partwork Battle Games in Middle-earth, and we hang out together as a global community and just hobby together, not because we need to paint those models, but just for the fun of it. And we have a theme. Every episode has a theme, and everyone around the world will paint that model at the same time. It's super cool. It sounds like fun. You want to hang out with us for 4 or 5 hours on a Friday night and paint along for the joy of the hobby. You can check out our live tab. We've got 120-ish episodes that you can look back on there. It's pretty cool. And the other way I try and clear my backlog is in my own hobbying journey, basically, where every year I track what I'm painting and I track what the tournaments I'm going to in the hope to constantly reduce that kind of big grey mountain. And it's working and it's happening. And so this is the latest vlog in my series charting that, and this one is going to be a review of the 7th City Grand Prix that I went to in February 2025. So there's going to be some photos popping up throughout the video of the stuff I'm talking about, of the games, but there's not going to be any models or anything. It's very much a sit and listen one. So stick this on in the background, grab your paints, get stuck in, try and clear that backlog while I witter on about this 7th City Grand Prix. The long-term viewers here will know that I am desperately trying to catch up on a huge backlog of hobby vlog editing, basically. And this is the last video I have to record of a tournament I went to that I can't remember, basically. I've been so far behind on this. It is months and months and months since I went to the Grand Prix, and I can't remember much about it at all. But what I do have is a list of my opponents' names, and I have the results, and I have some pictures. So I'm going to do my best to steer you through this one for the sake of continuity, so that I spent the previous vlog will have shown me painting up my stuff, my Besiegers of the Hornburg force for this. But this one will be letting you know how it got on, but badly, I think. I don't mean it got on badly, I mean I will be describing it quite badly due to my dull memories. So yeah, wish me luck. So indeed, the Besiegers, the 7th City Grand Prix was an event I've wanted to get to for years, but never quite make it because it's always the same weekend as the Middle-earth GT, which I always go to at Warhammer World. But this year, the Middle-earth GT fell on the same weekend as my daughter's birthday, so I couldn't go to that, so I went to the GP instead, which was awesome. I was really been trying to get to Will's event for years, and I was really keen to. I can't remember how many points it was. I think it was 600. It might have been 650, but the army ended up taking. You can watch my last vlog to find out how I got here, but I'd wanted to take Besiegers of the Hornburg, but I just ran out of time to paint my wild men. So in the end, the list I took was the Scavengers, Shankrot, the Snow Troll, Targ and Wolf on horse, and then the rest Crebain. Whatever that is. I think Targ's 100. I think Wolf's 130. So that's 230. I think the Scavengers 150. So that's 380. So if it's 600. That's then 16 Crebain. That feels about right. I think that's what it was. I think it was 600 points. I took 16 Crebain. Fun fact about Crebain. As the months have gone by, Crebain have emerged as something of a power, haven't they? The most busted model in the game and all that sort of things. I was taking these to a tournament in February, and that wasn't out there. That wasn't out there. Anyone who knows me knows that. Well, there's a couple of things. Firstly, I play for the fun and for the fluff and for the theme these days. But also, I did my Crebain army 5 years ago in lockdown I when they weren't a power in the old edition, I painted up 18 of the things with Saruman because that's exactly 550 points. Wrote some articles for Warcom and then took it to a 550 point tournament. It was brilliant fun. So I had my Crebain there. I'm old school Crebain. I was Crebaining before it was cool. So me taking a load of Crebain to a tournament is not me trying to lead into the meta. And we didn't even know it was the meta in February. And I also think it's fair to say that Crebain are good when they are a utility piece in a horde army. I think, like in Usurpers of Edoras or Army of the White Hand, when you have the army and then they form these great utility pieces to do different bits and bobs. I don't think, even now, anyone's saying they're great as an army on their own. So, suffice to say, when I took this army, it was not me thinking, 16 Crebain, I've got this. And even now, I don't think a full army even works. But I think it'd be cool, and it was great that I'd had my Crebain done 5 years ago, and they hadn't really seen many tournaments, so it was great to get to use all of them and kind of show off that army again. That was really good fun. I travelled to the event with my good friend Joe Achara, and we stopped. I had to drop my kids off at my parents' house for babysitting, so me and Jay stopped into my parents' house, which was good fun, and he was ended up like playing with my kids and theirs and all that. So that was nice. And then we got to the tournament. It's held in a hotel, which I quite like. I'm a big fan of Articon, where the event is in the same place. You know, where you stay. You don't have to leave, you don't have to travel, and there's a kind of good feeling there. And Will's trying to invoke that sense of a convention feel. I think a massive event where everyone's in the same place and everyone stays together. And so, it was at this hotel. Got there, checked in, and then we headed down to the bar and just hung out with people and just chatted for the evening, really. It was intro cool. I had the books down there, and I was basically trying to work out what all my models did, because I really didn't know. I spent so long desperately painting that I didn't bother to learn any rules. So I was doing that. And then we headed to bed, and we were ready for a war. And my first game was against Mike Millington. And I've noticed here that it seems that on day one I didn't actually make a note of what the scenarios were. But I played Mike Millington, and he had an Ent army. And not for the last time. Oh no, my photos have moved. Unbelievable. Not for the last time for the tournament. I found I was playing against things that were incredibly hard to kill. Crebain, bear in mind, it's all I've got. Not very good at killing Ents. And so, excuse me, I can find one of the pictures again. Where's it gone? There we go. It was Friday the 21st of February. So we're now on to Saturday the 22nd of February for the first game. And I don't even know what scenario we were playing, but all the Ents stormed on, and I had very little. I had the opportunity to have Wolf and the Troll to try and take a few of them down. I've got this quite early. I think this is like turn 2. You can see that Wolf and the Snow Troll and Targ are all dead. And who's that? Oh, and Shank's dead as well. I remember taking this. This is at 11:26. This is about half an hour into the game. All my good stuff was dead, so that was good. They got absolutely crushed. I don't really remember much about this. Like I say, it was a long time ago. I did my best, but the Ents just smashed me up relentlessly. But however, the most exciting thing for me on this was that it was the first time I discovered the rule about trinkets, about Shank and Rot's trinkets, which is every time, it's been a while, so every time they kill a model, they get to roll dice, and on a 6 they get a trinket. And so what I did, I should have had them here, I bought a bunch of gold rings from Amazon, like 20 rings for 10 quid or something, and I had a little bag of trinkets, because they're looking for rings in the film. And this became my... I was excited about the rule before I started, and as I started playing the game, it became the best thing ever. I love it so much, and Rot at some point was able to kill an Ent. Bear in mind, I'm desperate to get trinkets. That's all I'm living for. It's all I care about. You get extra VPs, but I wasn't expecting to win. All I wanted was trinkets, just desperate for trinkets. And Rot killed an Ent. So I killed one model, and I rolled a dice, and I got 6, and I got a trinket. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I love this so much. But I was gutted to be playing an army where I only had 6 models, because obviously I got very lucky to get a trinket. But normally, what's going to happen then is you are going to, you're going to roll a 6 every 6 models you kill or something. So if you're playing an army where you're very unlikely to kill models, that's very hard to do. So I was devastated by that, but managed to get a trinket, which was cool. And then it ends up here that the final picture I've got from this game is 3 Ents around a Crebain, maybe near the middle of the table. Maybe we're playing whole ground, I don't know. But I got smashed. It was a lovely game, but I got a 22 loss. It's probably worth reflecting on at the moment. This was a period where we only had the 6 scenarios. And so I can't remember quite how it worked out because we were playing 8 games throughout the course of the weekend. But it was something like, was this the voting one? Maybe it wasn't the voting one. Maybe that was the league finale. That was the league finale. There was no voting for this, of course. Yeah, I'm remembering this now. It was just the fact that we were rolling, and I think each day you rolled separately, so there was a chance of replaying scenarios across the 2 days or something. I don't know. But anyway, 22 loss. Thanks to Mike for the game. It was lovely, and he broke me in half. Next, I had the pleasure of playing the wonderful Dan Thorpe, and Dan had brought 2 Mumaks. And I have a funny bit, it's the war leader. You'd have to work out the points. I think the war leader's 400. And the other Mumak, it just had 1 dude in it. You couldn't afford any crew. Is that right? Is that 6? Maybe it's 650 points. I don't know. But I'm looking at the picture here, and he just had 2 Mumaks and absolutely no crew on them. And Dan was an absolutely lovely guy who was clearly there to just have a laugh and have fun. And we had a wonderful game. I've only actually got 2 photos from it, but it's been a long time. I don't remember. But he had no option but to push his Mumaks forward. I didn't have any shooting, so it's not like I could stand off and shoot him. But I basically just tried to set up a Mumak net as best I could. We were having that thing where I think he can march to make a Mumak move 11 inches or something. I can't remember. I might be getting those numbers wrong. We had a bit of a kind of, he didn't want to move into range where I could then charge him. I didn't want to move into trample range, all that sort of stuff. We stood off for a bit and then went in, and I don't really remember how it happened, but I killed the Mumak. I killed 1 Mumak on the left by having Wolf can heroic strike. The Snow Troll could get up higher fight than him. I think Shank can heroic strike, can he? I think. And I was able to get onto the Mumak and sort of trap him, probably over a couple of turns, and even with my strength 2 Crebain, just tons and tons and tons of attacks. I was able to get in and kill him. And then the other Mumak was far more of a problem. I seem to remember. I seem to remember him going on a bit of a rampage and getting quite a few tramples off. Obviously, Crebain very good at stopping Mumaks. I think it's only 3 attacks, is it, for the tusk weapons when they trample in these, or 3 attacks without tusk weapons, 4 attacks with tusk weapons. And I don't think he had tusk weapons, so it meant that he couldn't trample through things because every time he hit a Crebain, he could only do 3 wounds, whatever. And so that was quite handy. And I think he got through a few possibly, and then I ended up managing to take the other Mumak down, and so I managed to get a win there, and that was an 18-5 win to me. Hooray! I was up and running. But thanks, Dan. It was a really lovely game, and he was a great guy. It was nice to get to know him a bit. My third game was against Richard Cassidy and his Thranduil's Halls, and just trying to see what we've got in the way of pictures here. I think this is roughly deployment. He had a scary looking army. He had some Mirkwood Knights, some Mirkwood Rangers, Thranduil and Elk. I'm sure there's a Legolas in there somewhere. Yeah, Legolas here is the West Legolas there. And so obviously I had to run towards him. I was trying to use this big rock in the middle to protect myself, but also using the Crebain for shields, not just because they can't shoot at them, because they can ignore that by just choosing to shoot the heroes behind them, but just using the fact that they've got 4 wounds to kind of absorb some arrows. I took this photo here of a brown thing. Look at this, this is good, isn't it? There's my dice bag. I think this is an accident. Maybe this photo is an accident. Maybe it's something incredibly impressive. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's meaningless. Don't know. Then we had a fight in the middle. It would really help if I knew what scenario it was, but Thranduil charged in. Look at this, and he charged in and tried to kill some things, and then Wolf's at the background. I think I was trying to negotiate Wolf and the Troll onto him at the same time and do a oldie heroic strikey and try and take him down or something like that. And then in the next photo, that's Thranduil on foot, I think, and it looks like I've got like Rot and Wolf and... Oh no, that's Thranduil. No, that isn't. That's Thranduil on Elk. And you can actually see there, I think, I reckon what might be happening here, if you look, you've got Rot, Targ and the Troll all fighting against one elf while Wolf is fighting Thranduil, and I think what that is a heroic combat waiting to happen to storm into Thranduil. So it just became a big scrap, and I have no idea which of the 6 scenarios from the rulebook that was. Maybe it's to the death, so there was a lot riding on the leader. I don't really know, but I think it went well because I ended up getting a 5-1 win. Ken Richard was absolutely lovely, really nice guy that I hadn't met before. So that was cool, and I managed to get a win. Hooray! I don't know how. Sorry, but it was a lot of fun, and so yeah, I was on 2 wins. That's pretty good. And the final game of day 1 was against Freddie Olstoff and his Minas Morgul army, and this was to the death. I know the scenario and everything. And for this one, you can see he had a kind of scary looking army. It's got an orc battle line. He's got the Witch King on horse, and he had another ring wraith. I'm trying to think what army list this. Oh, Minas Morgul. So I don't know. Is it? I presume it's just an unnamed ring wraith. So we had 2 casters, which is a problem for just shutting down my big scary things, and then this orc battle line. And what happened in this game was the Crebain just murdered him, as memory serves. The Crebain just went in and they didn't die with their 4 wounds, and they just started wiping out orcs. And you can see here when the battle line's gone, suddenly there's a hell of a lot less orcs left. I'm just checking this is the last picture. Yeah, there's a hell of a lot less orcs left here. And you can see the trolls miles away. I don't think the troll did anything for the entire game. I think between his 2 wraiths, he was able to stop the troll having any impact on the game whatsoever. But I think just everything else did the job. Like the Crebain were able to take out enough orcs. It was to the death, so it was all about banners, breaking, 25%ing and leaders. When we look in here, Wolf is still alive, and I can't see any ring wraiths. So I think this had happened. I think I managed to take down the Witch King, basically somehow, and keep mine alive. And it was a great scrap, and it was a lovely, lovely game. Freddie was a really, really nice guy. We had a really, really enjoyable final game. Great way to end the day. And I managed to win 18-3 to the death. And so I finished day 1 on 3 wins and a loss. Take that, Besiegers of the Hornburg are rubbish. I didn't actually talk to you about at the start about my aims, mainly because it's been so long I'd forgot what my aims were. That I genuinely, because of everyone says the Besiegers of the Hornburg are crap, and I wasn't even taking the wild men to hoard out my numbers, I assumed I was going to get spanked on day 1. And my plan was, the way Will's event works, is that there are different pods, and I think they were pods of 16. I think they were 16 pods. Pods of 16 players. And what happens is you play your game 1, day 1, and then you get put into a pod with the people that are closest to you in the rankings. So, for example, if it is 16, the top 16 players get put into pod 1, the next 16 players get put into pod 2, next 16 players get into pod 3, and so on and so forth. So what that means is even if you lost all your games on day 1, you've got a prize to play for. You go into the bottom pod, and then that has a prize on day 2. It's the same system we use at Seven Stones, and it's great because it means that you've always got something to play for on day 2. So really, really encouraging. And what I thought was going to happen was I would be spanked all over the table on day 1, and then I kind of had these dreams of winning a pod on day 2, winning like the lowest pod on day 2 of my glorious Crebain army or something. And instead, what happened was I won 3 games, and there's about 100 people there, so I reckon they were pods of 16. And I was in pod 2 on day 2, which was horrific. I didn't quite make it to the top pod, so I couldn't win the event. But I think I was in the bottom pod. And what that meant was the people I was in the pod with were basically the 16 people most pissed off they hadn't got into the top pod. I was somewhere between 17th and 32nd in the rankings. And all these people had done really well on day 1, but were then finding out they couldn't win the tournament because they weren't in the top pod. And so I was basically, me and my stupid Crebain meme army was dropped into a bunch of really angry and competitive players. And I was like, oh no, this is the opposite of what I wanted. So that was what I had to look forward to in day 2. But before day 2, we had the delights of the Saturday evening. There was a quiz, I seem to remember. We all went to like a kind of big hall. We were sitting around. There was some sort of meal. I can't remember the meal. I remember it being fine, but not very much. And then we like ordered other food in. I feel like we ordered a pizza. I think me and Cal got a pizza from Domino's or something. And so we had like second dinner. It was very hobbity. And we had a quiz, and we stayed up late in the bar and just chatted to people and stuff. And it was lots and lots of fun. And then day 2 begins, and I was playing Teddy Ivel with his bloody Ents. More Ents. So I was desperate to get trinkets, and in game 1 I played 6 Ents. In game 2 I played 2 Mumaks, and then in game 5 I was playing 6 Ents or 5 Ents or whatever it was. And in this one we were playing Recon. And suddenly I was like, maybe I can win Recon. Maybe I've got a hope in Recon, because I do have more models than the Ents. But one of the wonderful changes for the new edition is they get dominant, right? So they count as extra models. So I was actually like, hang on, I think in the last edition I would have won this, because my Crebain could have flown off, and then even if all the Ents went off, they wouldn't be able to catch me. But instead, what happened was I knew I had to take the fight to him a bit. And there were some really interesting fights that went on here that I'm not necessarily going to remember these, but I'm going to try and talk you through some of them. That I remember Beachbone called a heroic challenge against General Targ. And so Beachbone's got a heroic challenge, and even though it's better now, everyone agrees heroic challenge is better, you still don't see a lot of it. And what's great about Beachbone is because he's only a hero of fortitude, he can challenge a hero of fortitude. And most people with heroic challenge are Valor or Legend. And so what Beachbone can do as a very effective use of his might is challenge kind of minnow heroes and force them to fight. And I can't remember if he was in the fight or what, I can't remember the mechanics of it. But basically then I was challenged by him, and it's like, well, either I decline it and nothing happens, or I accept it and at least I get the whatever it is, +1 attack and +1 to wound against them to kind of help. So Targ had to accept. And so we were I was fighting against Beachbone, and I can't quite remember, but I think Targ did go down in that fight. And I was trying to manoeuvre the Snow Troll, because I think the Snow Troll is fight 7. Is a normal Ent fight 7, I feel like. I feel like the Snow Troll and Wolf are my only chances of tying their fight, I think. And so I was trying to trap them in the middle. And what I found in this game was that the Crebain were brilliant at tar pitting the Ents. Absolutely brilliant. Because the Ents had got 3 attacks, they couldn't kill them in 1. And so what I'd often do is I charged all in the middle and just would have like a bunch of Crebain fighting and then a bunch of Crebain just around them, so that even if they barged, they couldn't get very far. And just kind of got the Ents well and truly stuck while I tried to just kill a couple. And I think I'd done the maths on it, and I worked out that, if I killed 2 or 3 of the Ents, then he couldn't win. He didn't have enough points if my Crebain got off the table, that sort of thing. And so I was quite pleased with this game. I was quite proud with how it went and the game plan. And what I'd also do, which I imagine was infuriating to play against, is whenever he'd like be beating up a Crebain and he'd get a Crebain down to 1 wound, and then I would just fly it away to the table edge, and that would be the one. So rather than him killing the model and getting a VP for a model towards breaking me or whatever, I would just fly it away and use that to go off the table and get a victory point. And so the Crebain were brilliant in this. Now that tactic wouldn't work against a normal army, because I was only playing 6 models. It worked brilliantly well. I could go in, lose 3 wounds, and then just redeploy them to the end to fly off. And that's what I started doing. And and that all went pretty well. And we had this big scrap in the middle. And then I remember Treebeard then, basically Treebeard and maybe one other Ent made a big run for the edge, and we still had 45 minutes left on the round, so we had enough time to do it. And we got into this second stage of the game where I was just desperately trying to hold Treebeard up, because Treebeard was actually worth I might get the number wrong, so if I say the wrong number, it's not the wrong number that we used, it's just I've misremembered it, but he's effectively worth about 10 VPs to get off, because he's got Merry and Pippin on him. So I think now you get a VP for every hero you get off. Is that right? I think you get Treebeard, Merry and Pippin off, that's 3. But then he's also dominant 5 or whatever. So he gets 5 off for getting on, and then do you get 3 for getting your leader off or something? But whatever it was, whatever that number was, he was worth enough to win the game. So if Treebeard got off, that would have won it. So I had to keep tar pitting him in the same way. And you can see here this. I think this is the last scenario, the last picture I took from this game. You can see the snow troll converging on Treebeard, and I think, and he's got Targ and he's got Shank next to him, and I think what they'd done, they'd just killed another Ent, and we're now heading, because the snow troll was worth nothing to me. The heroes were really important because they could be VPs. But the snow troll was just a free swing at Treebeard. And I think the snow troll had done really good business, killed at least one Ent, maybe two Ents, and was then storming into Treebeard. And he went into Treebeard, I'm pretty sure he died. I think he lost to Treebeard, and the snow troll sadly went down. But what you can also see is just higher up, you've got Wolf and Rot heading off the board with 3 Crebain, and I'm pretty sure the reason that Shank and Targ are still with the snow troll there is because they still had might. So Shank could heroic strike. Not sure if that would have made a difference. I think he's fight 4, so he could go up to 7, so maybe it wouldn't have made a difference. But I think he had might to affect the snow troll, and Targ had might to affect the Crebain, because remember they don't affect each other because of their silly rules. So I think that's why they were there. They were supporting them as little might caddies. And meanwhile, I'd sent Wolf, who was my leader, and Rot off to run off the table, because you get VPs for getting heroes off. And we because of the nature of it being quite a small army, we still had plenty of time. And then I think basically that's the last photo I took. But that's kind of what happened. I was able to then get Wolf off, get Rot off, and get a bunch of Crebain off. And I got to the point where I think somehow I remember leaving Treebeard on his own. It got to the point where I knew that he couldn't win effectively. I can't remember quite why that was, but I think that's it. I think the Crebain had held up Treebeard for long enough for Wolf and Rot to get off the board, at which point he couldn't win with the VPs. So then the Crebain basically just left him and flew towards his table edge, and then for the last 2 turns, I think Treebeard and an Ent walked off, and me and all my Crebain flew off or something. So that ended in a 8-3 win to me for whatever VPs they were. So that was cool. I was off to a flyer on day 2. So 4 wins and a loss to begin with. That was pretty damn good. And I got a trinket in that game as well. No, sorry, I didn't get a trinket in that game. But yeah, and my treat for playing that as I flew up the tables was to play the wonderful Mr. Dale Groves, one of our very own co-hosts on Battle Streams Middle Earth, a good friend of mine, and someone who I don't believe I'd ever played in anger at like a real tournament. So that was cool. And we took this great photo of B-Simers. This is me and Dale at one of the most competitive events in the country, a table higher up than Jamie Wiggins. So we were delighted. We sent that. There were all B-Simers there, and we sent that to our little B-Sim chat. And we were playing. I know this one. I think this was Whole Ground. Yeah, it was Whole Ground. And Dale had the last Alliance army. And the first thing I've got is this wonderful photo of Dale, where you can see he looks absolutely thrilled with what was happening. And this is because I think he had 2 warbands. I think he had Elrond and Isildur, I want to say. Yes, he did. And he rolled a 2 for both of them. And I think maybe I was already safely deployed, so I knew I could ambush one of them. And so he had to use 2 might. So he had 6 might on the board, and he had to use 4 of them to get his army on where he wanted, which was sad. But I didn't think it was sad. I thought it was hilarious. And so he brought his whole army on together. It was one big chunk, and then stormed towards the middle. And then I kind of swarmed over the objective, or towards the objective, with my fast-moving Crebain, and took the fight to him. Look at this picture. Look at this picture of the Crebain sweeping through this kind of Harad village. They look super, super cool. And I charged into his army, and I got spanked. I got ruined. And basically this is what I was expecting to happen to the Crebain army. It was really interesting that at that time, I think Ents have died down a bit in the meta now, but at the time Ents were kind of, Ents are really good, they're really powerful. Maybe they're too good. But the Crebain were really good counter to them in the 2 game against Ents, same with the Mumaks. But against this army, he just murdered me. I did exactly the same thing I did against the Orcs on the previous day, which is I charged into the front and then I hopped a bunch of Crebain over the back to charge the spears, and they all just murked me. I think he just had more numbers. Maybe he had a good number. He only spent the money on the 2 heroes, so he had quite a lot of models. He had a banner, and even with me hopping over, he often had 2 attack and the banner with a higher fight value, and he just murdered me. He just absolutely murked me. And it was extremely enjoyable. We had an absolutely brilliant game, and you can actually see in that picture there the snow troll is some way behind because he's obviously a lot slower than the Crebain walking across the board. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And I was basically thinking, it's fine. I'm still in this as long as I've got Wolf and as long as I've got my snow troll. And I'm pretty sure my memory of this is that the snow troll charged 2 elves, finally got into combat, or maybe even 2 Numenorians, charged 2 Numenorians, lost the fight and took a wound. And I was like, okay, that's annoying. You know, what's clearly meant to happen is I kill 2 Numenorians bare minimum, and then we start chopping stuff up. Instead of that, I lose and I take a wound. I was like, that's annoying. The next turn, he charged 2 elves, and Dale rolled his stupid rule where you have to roll a dice when you charge, and on a 6 they do a wound, and he rolled double 6 and he killed my snow troll. Cool. Of course you did, mate. Of course you did. That's how I remember it. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'm almost certain that he killed the snow troll with a double 6 from the Last Alliance special rule, which was hilarious and it was glorious to watch. But it was such a filthy rule. And then I think you'll notice that Wolf's on foot here. I think Wolf lost his horse to the same rule. He charged in. I was like, well, at least I've got Wolf charging in, mowing things down. 6, dead. Right, cool. And basically, he just murdered me. He just wiped me out. And suddenly, then it was like, I just got nothing. And he like Elrond and Isildur just wandered around with their elf and Numenor mates, just murdering me. Basically, he absolutely spanked me. And I lost that game 17-1. I did get a trinket though, and I have a funny feeling, is this not, this might be a horrible game. You can see in this is the last photo I took in this game, you can see that Rot has got, is there and he's alright. There's like Rot, Shank, a Crebain and Wolf near 1 Numenorian. I think he got a trinket, I rolled a 6 and I was very excited, so I legged it. Protect the trinket, you got to protect the trinket. And I have a horrible feeling that Rot failed his courage test in the last turn, which made, very little difference. I would have got a VP for it. It was 17-1, I would have been a 17-2. But it made me so angry. And I think that's the game where I had a trinket, but then Rot ran away, so I didn't get the trinket, and it really upset me. So tragically, no trinket there. But again, the hunt for trinkets was truly joyous. So I lost to Dale, but genuinely just a brilliant game. I absolutely loved it. We had such a blast. We were laughing for the whole thing. And it was great. Really good to get a chance to play a good friend. Next up, I played Richard Spencer, the wonderful Richard Spencer, and he had his Battle of 5 Armies list. And this was Destroy the Supplies. I'm pretty sure this might have been the first time I played Destroy the Supplies. No, that's nonsense. It's not a new scenario. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. And yeah, this one again hard to remember. He had loads of shooting, so I think he did kind of set back to begin with and kind of hold off. And then I made big inroads on the left here. Is this I'm just trying to work out how many pictures I've got. I think it's just the 2. I started pushing up on the left. And I think actually this is quite late in the game. I pushed up on the left, tried to punch through. I remember having some failed rolls. I feel like, again, the Snow Troll or Wolf charged into 2 elves, lost the fight, which was really important, really near an objective. And then my biggest memory of this, and unfortunately it's too long ago to remember the detail, is that the game was brilliant and was hugely dynamic. And I think maybe I got his objective out here on the side. And then you can see here he's got like elves, and he's got about 1, 2, 3, 4 models coming back towards my objectives. And then I sent this little band here, which is like Targ, Shank, Rot and Wolf, back to try and protect my own objectives, having claimed one of his. And then I think I feel like the models we were really in the balance of breaking. I'm not sure if both armies broke, but it was that idea of literally every model counted. It was a brilliant game where there were important things going on all over the table, and every lone model could be the hero or could let you down, and like courage tests were coming into it, and you have to really think, okay, well maybe if Wolf can charge this one and protect this objective, but then he won't be able to protect this objective. But if that Lake Towner fails his courage test and legs it, and it was all this kind of stuff. He had Legolas, who was extremely annoying, and I think this one might be the final positions. You can see that Wolf has been dehorsed. I think he got dehorsed by Legolas, which might have cost me the game, because I think that might have been the sort of thing that meant that he couldn't reach an objective. You can see that over here, the Crebain have sadly fallen. He's got 4 models there, and you can see he swept away 2 of my objectives in the middle there. But he's not got many models left, I think, and it was a brilliant game. It was an absolutely brilliant game. I remember it being really in the balance until the very end, but it ended up with a loss for me for 11-6. But genuinely hugely tactical, potentially one of the closest games I played. Like the game against Dale was brilliant, but it was an absolute spanking, and some of my wins were great and I was proud of. But this was the one that was really kind of, oh, he's winning. Oh no, I'm winning. Oh, he's winning. That's my memory of it anyway. But thanks to Richard, it was great. But yeah, an 11-6 loss. And then my final game was against Luke Hilda with his lost Lorien, and that was against Hold Ground. And I think I've got 4 pictures of this. And for this one, I can't remember if it was my choice or his choice, but you can actually see, is this the deployment pick? It's quite close to the deployment pick, but you can sort of see how he deployed in a corner behind my army. Now, I truly can't remember if that was my choice or his choice, but I kind of went, all right, let's go for it. I can deal with this. I'll put a big line of Crebain that I've learned are famously hard to fight through, and just try and block you off. And basically, I was like, I'll try and die. I'll try and get broken, and then I'll fall back to the middle, still blocking you with Crebain, and I'll try and win. And you can see here in some of these photos that I chucked everything in except Wolf. I kept Wolf back because I presume he was worth leader VPs. I guess it was in Whole Ground. I didn't want to give away those leader VPs, and I was going to use him with his being the leader, being dominant 3 to hold the objective. I think to get like 3-0 or whatever. I think that was my thinking there. I was just trying to keep my leader safe, and I feel like he had to be that far back because of Galadriel and Celeborn, I guess, with like command or compel or something, like spells they could do. I think it was just trying to keep him safe and trying to keep him safe from archery, those kind of things. And I was charging in, and Celeborn was incredible. I kept thinking I nearly had him, and I think because he's got Galadriel and Celeborn to immobilise, he could just always stop the troll. This is one of those things that, like, I don't think it's wrong, but I've never been comfortable with the way trolls in particular seem to be just shut down so easily. Is it too much to just suggest that all monsters should get magic resistance? Just to have that one, not that guarantee. It's pretty much like, I've got a wizard and you've got a troll. Your troll's never doing anything for the whole game. I don't know. It just feels a bit off to me. But yeah, whatever. So in this game, I was doing all right, and I was in it, and I was chucking stuff in, and then I think basically, like, Will had just given us very generous round times to just ensure the game's concluded fully. So I can't remember what they were, but like 2 hours, whatever, for 600 points. I don't know. Maybe it was a bit less, but it just meant that the games would always finish, which of course was great. And you can sort of see that eventually, despite my best efforts, just his numbers worked their way through my army. And in this, I think this is the last picture here. You can see that he managed to get into the middle, and I just ran out of models to stop him. So I've got, what have I got there? Looks like I've got Targ, Rot, Shank, 2 Crebain, and Wolf in the middle, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 elves and Celeborn in the middle. I'm not sure if that's the final positions or if that meant I don't know, but he won. Luke managed to win. It was I've actually only just got lost here. I haven't actually got the VPs on that one, so apologies for that. But yeah, he, I think, probably broke me, I guess, and then maybe had more than me, or maybe he had, I can't remember the VPs, maybe he had a banner and I had slightly more in the middle, I don't know. But yeah, Luke managed to win that one, just playing all the way. And it was one of those games that I think Luke played it really well, because I thought I had it for quite some time. I just never thought he'd have the time to kind of fight through me and get to the middle, and I don't know if it was brilliant play or if it was luck or which way it worked, but he timed it right that he was able to get through, punch through, and still have the time to get to the middle and consolidate it. So well played, Luke. And that was it. So tragically, and here's the thing, what basically happened was I had got beaten. I managed to win my first game on day 4, but then I'd got beaten by 3 very good armies in a row. Like by good players with good armies. So like the last alliance, Dale with the last alliance, Richard with Battle of 5 Armies, and Luke with Lothlorien. They were really good tournament armies. Like I say, they were all lovely. Everyone was nice. No one was actually like pissed off and angry, but they were clearly people who'd come to the tournament to try and do well, to compete. And little old me with my stupid Crebain army was inexplicably in this shark pit with them on day 2. Which I wasn't expecting in any way, shape or form. And basically the Crebain just got found out. They did it the wrong way around. They won 3 on the first day, got catapulted up to these horrible armies, and then got spanked up down the tables. I haven't looked up the rankings, but I presume I finished about 30th or 32nd, because I presume I finished near the bottom of that second bracket. So remarkably, despite being something like 18th on day 1 and then losing 3 out of 4 games on day 2, I still only finished like 32nd because of the pod system or whatever. But yeah, and that was the event, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. The Besiegers are demonstrably awful. Having now tried them out, I don't think this is a particularly hot take. What you are basically doing is swapping several very good special rules, the benefits of Frekka, the benefits of Rohirrim traitors, a banner, a warhorn, some defense 5, some throwing spears, maybe some other bits, for a troll. That's the special rules are for the Besiegers of Hornburg. I think there's 3 special rules, and 2 of them are bad ones. One's like Wolf has to charge, and one of them is that the orcs don't affect heroic moves. So, and then they've got like an objective one. Is that they? Can't remember now. I think they re-roll wounds near objectives or something like that. So 2 of their 3 rolls are actually bad rules. So they're worse than Usurpers in every way. But the Scavengers are so much fun. All of them, Shank, Rot, and the Snow Troll, are amazing. They're an absolute bargain for 150 points, but they need to be a bargain because they're in an awful army list. But they're brilliant. They're so much fun, and honestly, rolling for trinkets and trying to get Shank and Rot to kill models and get desperate for trinkets is my new favourite thing again. They've shot up, and they're my new favourite profile in the game. I wish you could use them in other armies, but they are good enough and fun enough, and the models are good enough to make me want to use the Besiegers again, which is the best compliment I can give the Scavengers, really. They were great. I think having a little bag of crappy toy rings helps. They were not even toy rings, they were real metal rings. And it really does add something to it, and it adds huge drama. And it's quite a good rule, get it on a 6, then you get a VP. And it did swing one of the games. I feel like it, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was one of the ones against the Ents. I'm sure my trinket VP mattered. I want to say, I'm not quite sure why. I think it was against Teddy. I've got an 8-3 win, and it says trinket, which is worth 1 VP, so it would have been 7-3, which doesn't seem to make a difference. I just had a feeling that one of the trinket VPs mattered, as it were, but I don't know. It's not like it's a major win. That doesn't change the major win. I don't know. But they were brilliant. I loved them. I think the models are amazing. I think the rules are amazing, and they're a real highlight. But if you're in any way competitive, it's Usurpers. It's not even close. There's no choice. There's no discussion. But if you want something different with some cool models and very unique rules and a unique monster, I think give the Besiegers a go. And who knows? Maybe if you took a sensible army and hoarded out the wild men like you're meant to, and just had a few Crebain as utility pieces, maybe they'd do all right. I don't know. And there we go. Those are my exploits with the Besiegers of the Hornburg. And yeah, we then did the awards and we headed home. The tournament was great. It was brilliant. Will ran a great tournament as he always does. The hotel was lovely. It was fine. I think Will be the first person to say that it was. I don't know how to explain it. Everything about the hotel was a bit rubbish, and I mean that with a smile. Like, just the breakfast service was a bit rubbish, and the bar service was a bit rubbish. It was like they didn't have enough staff, or like none of their staff knew how things worked. Like, nothing to do with Will, nothing to do with the tournament organisation. It was like the running of the hotel was just a bit. Like, me and Cal went to the bar to get 2 Cokes in the middle of the game when there was a no queue, and it took us 18 minutes. 18 minutes to get 2 Cokes, which is just like ludicrous. You know, it's that kind of stuff. And that just slightly took the edge off it a bit. I don't know what Will's plan is for next year. I think he might be looking at a different venue. Maybe the service improvement will have an improvement at that venue. I don't know. It was fine. It was nothing remotely enough to make me kind of go, oh, I wouldn't go back or anything. But it was just that was a bit of a shame. But everything on Will's end was incredible. Was absolutely brilliant. Really, there were some great prizes. I had an SBG stand there as well. Took the magazines along. So thank you to everyone who picked up a magazine. That was super cool. Don't make it that many independent tournaments anymore. So it's nice to chat to some people like the mag and that sort of stuff. Nice to see some friends. Hadn't seen in a while, and just genuinely nice to get 8 games of SBG. I think they were my first games of the new edition. I think so. It was nice to try out a new army list with a new rule set against lots of different armies. And yeah, that was about it. We headed home. I went home with Jay, and I can't remember the slightest thing about the journey home. Couldn't tell you where we went for dinner or if we stopped or what, don't know. But yeah, we headed home and it was brilliant. So yeah, there you go. That is my review of the Grand Prix and my exploits with Besiegers of the Hornburg. Wasn't it fun? So, there we go. First 2 vlogs of the year done. That's that project tidied up. And now we're going to move on to the future. And there's going to be a little vlog to come, which should be super quick, like coming to you after you see this one, because the next one is just going to wrap up. This was to the end of February. Yes, this takes us up to the end of February, and then there's a new hobby project that begins in sort of May, June time. But what I'm going to have in the middle is just a bunch of little hobby bits that I did in kind of March, April, May time, that sort of stuff. So super quick hobby vlog to come next. Looking over a few bits I painted, and hopefully we'll keep what seems like a kind of steady flow of hobby vlogs coming throughout the rest of the year. But yes, there we go. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and please leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about the Besiegers of the Hornburg in particular. If you used them, is there a way to make them competitive? Do you like the Snow Troll? And so on and so forth. What about an all Crebain list? Can it work? Just get involved in the conversation. The comments are the only thing that keeps me going on this channel. It genuinely, it's the engagement that really makes me kind of think, yeah, well, okay, I will still making these hobby vlogs. If you guys keep chatting to me and engaging with them, I'll keep making them. And if you really enjoy the content we're doing here, there's a link down below to our Patreon scheme, which is a wonderful way to help me keep the lights on here at Battlestreams Middle-earth. If you do watch this stuff regularly and you want to just donate some of your hard-earned cash to help me keep funding the various tech that goes into this and the various ludicrous projects that we work on and so on and so forth here, it'll be great, and you can join the coolest group of nerds in all the world. But there we go. Hope you've enjoyed this hobby vlog. I'll see you very soon on Battlestreams in Middle-earth.